That old question, do you teach students about abstinence or do you teach them how to use contraception?
One local school district is considering handing out condoms to high schoolers. Channel 7's Rachel Elzafan here now with the story that's all new at 6 tonight.
Well, Joanna, John, the Rochester School District has started handing out condoms where students can get up to 10 a day for free. And now Buffalo high schools are considering starting a similar program. In a study released last September, more than half of Buffalo high schoolers admitted to having sex. Buffalo has a high teen pregnancy and STD rate. And Buffalo Public High School Associate Superintendent calls Rochester's move courageous. Here in Buffalo, he says handing out condoms could become part of a bigger sex ed program. The Common Council president says while something needs to be done, he's not sure handing out condoms in school is the best idea.
It's not enough just to provide access to contraception. We really must deliver high-quality education as well, and we need the experts to help guide us.
I think that sends the wrong message within the learning environment. I think if they work with community partners, might be a way to go.
Well, if Buffalo Public Schools do develop a plan to hand out condoms, the associate superintendent says the district would talk to families. Now in Rochester, parents have the option of opting their students out of this program. The Erie County Department of Health emphasizes research shows if teens feel like they can talk to parents about these issues, those kids are less likely to contract an STD or get pregnant. John?
All right, Rachel, thank you. Well, do you think condoms should be handed out to high school students in school? Dwayne says no way. By handing out condoms, they're just encouraging the students to have sex. Matthew writes, kids are going to have sex no matter what. Why not give them condoms so that way they can be safe and not end up with a child when most of them are still children themselves? And Dane wrote, schools should probably be passing out more books, pencils, and calculators instead of condoms. Remember, you can join the conversation 24 hours a day. You can like us on Facebook, or you can log on to Twitter and follow us at WKBW.
Study revealed alarming levels of sexual activity among Buffalo school students. And News 4's Rachel Kingston reports those students are getting little guidance from schools about the consequences.
Teens having sex is no secret, but when the Buffalo Public Schools recently surveyed middle and high schoolers about their risky behaviors, the kids' very candid answers came as a reality check. More than 6,000 teens said they are sexually active, 20% higher than the statewide average. The number who reported having 4 or more sexual partners was 41% greater.
We have very high STD rates in the Buffalo area, and that's one of the reasons. There's a lot of sex happening, and there's also not a lot of sex education happening.
Students are really blunt about that too.
My health teacher, he talked about it just a little bit. He's like, well, I'm supposed to teach abstinence. It was just like, yeah, well, be abstinent and on to the next topic, diabetes.
The survey concluded that lack of information puts students at risk. Activists say there are 2 big takeaways from the survey. 1, students need more comprehensive sexual education. And 2, kids and adults need to get more comfortable talking about this taboo topic. So the district is sponsoring community forums in hopes of getting teens to talk about sex with parents and teachers instead of just each other.
It's not taught outside of the school either. So there's a lot of parental responsibility, there's a lot of community responsibility that I think we've been missing the boat on.
Kevin Sepulveda is part of a group of college students who are also helping to educate teens about such topics as pregnancy,
that I think we've been missing the boat on.
Kevin Sepulveda is part of a group of college students who are also helping to educate teens about such topics as pregnancy, sexual health, and contraceptives.
Some people don't understand how it's properly used, so we go in there too. We teach them the proper use. Let's say a condom.
Although this survey was only given to students at Buffalo Public Schools, that does not mean teen sex, pregnancy, and STDs aren't issues at suburban and private schools. As for Buffalo, the next step is designing a sex ed policy with input from experts. Live, Rachel Kingston for the 10 o'clock.
We are about to show you. We certainly hope that you will see why it is a topic that certainly needs to be discussed.
The Erie County Health Commissioner is calling it an epidemic. More and more people are getting sexually transmitted infections, and young people are especially at risk. Some believe a lack of learning in schools is to blame.
But parents play a big role as well. 2 on your side's Michael Wooten reports on the new concerns and the push for changes to keep our kids safe.
Parents don't want to think about their kids having sex, much less talk about it. But that is part of the problem, and this is the result. Startling statistics regarding sexually transmitted infections in Erie County. Specifically, we've seen a dramatic increase in recent cases of gonorrhea.
Is this a health epidemic in this community?
It is.
Erie County Health Commissioner Dr. Gail Burstein says the numbers speak for themselves. We've seen a 61% increase in gonorrhea cases over the past 2 years. A third of the patients are younger than 20 years old.
To what do you attribute that spike?
You know, we're not really sure why we're having this increase in number of reported cases. It's really frustrating. You know, we've talked to the State Health Department about it. We've talked to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention about it.
And making matters worse, doctors are now seeing more and more strains of the infection that are resistant to medication. Currently, there's only one class of antibiotics that can treat gonorrhea with no new drugs in the works.
It's a bit scary, isn't it, to think about?
It's very scary. It's very scary. I mean, gonorrhea is this a bacteria, but it has this special group of proteins that figure out how to become resistant to antibiotics faster than other bacteria.
Dr. Burstein says that only underscores the need for prevention, and that, she says, starts at home with the sometimes uncomfortable sex talk with your kids.
What would be your message to parents who haven't had those important conversations with their children?
There's no time like the present to start those conversations. If we don't talk about it, then we won't talk about how to prevent it, you know, what type of testing that needs to be done to ensure that that people who are at risk, you know, aren't infected, you know, what the treatment is and how, you know, how to prevent it.
Those conversations should also be happening in school, but Dr. Burstein says that's not always the case. For years, federal funds were tied to abstinence-only education, but that's not the case now.
How has that changed what you can do in schools?
Well, I think an abstinence-only program, the research shows it isn't efficient, you know, it's deficient.
Buffalo Schools Health Director Assunta Ventresca says most independent studies show comprehensive sex ed leads to fewer STDs and fewer unwanted pregnancies. And right now, most students are not getting that comprehensive education.
Inconsistency, I don't think there was a solid curriculum being used.
So the district put together a sexual health committee to help rewrite the curriculum. They've hosted community forums and hope their proposals will be implemented next school year.
This curriculum is a skills-based. Students are not just going to be, you know, here's a piece of paper or here's the knowledge. They're going to be building skills on relationships, on saying no, you know, refusal skills.
They'll be learning things that aren't even in the current textbooks. This book is actually from 2001. It's what they're using at one Buffalo high school. They only have 15 copies of it for the entire school, and if you browse through it, you won't even find the words condom or contraception anywhere in the book.
The lack of textbooks prompted Riverside High School to file a grievance with the district, but Ventresca says changes are coming, partly brought about from this student survey that showed more than half the high school students in the district have had sexual intercourse, more than 12% of them before they were 13 years old. 1 in 5 have had 4 or more sexual partners, and nearly a third didn't use condoms during their last sexual encounter.
The data is significant enough that we know we have to do something.
In addition to changes in curriculum, Buffalo schools will also consider making condoms available in high schools, and already they started a pilot program to offer STD and pregnancy testing right at school. They hope to expand that to 4 high schools. But the STD epidemic isn't limited to Buffalo. Infection rates are up countywide. Dr. Burstein hopes changes in education and changes in awareness will turn that around.
Are you confident that these numbers can be reversed?
I feel confident that the trends can come down again. It's not just up to the schools, it's not just up to the health department. You know, it's a problem in our community. We all have to work together to try to address this.
The county health department runs an STD clinic that's free and confidential. There's information on that and much more on the county website. We have a link in this story on our website. Dr. Burstein recommends everyone who is sexually active get an STD test at least once a year. The tests aren't painful, usually just a urine sample. She points out even if you don't have any symptoms, something like gonorrhea can cause serious damage. In women, it could lead to atopic pregnancies, even infertility. She hopes this story is motivation for parents to engage their kids and have those important conversations. Michael Wooten, Channel 2 News.
Thank you, Michael. And that new sexual health committee for Buffalo schools will present its proposals to the school board a little bit later this year.
But there is still time for your input. There is a final community meeting on May 9th at 5:30. It's at the Howard Lewis Parent Center on Albany Street. The health director says once this new curriculum is in place, parents will have the opportunity to opt out their kids during parts of contraception conversations that may go against their moral or religious beliefs. And on a separate note, she also expects the board will make a decision for next school year on whether or not to make condoms available at high schools.
And you can join the conversation on this topic and sound off on how you think sex ed needs to be taught in schools. Make sure to check out our Facebook page, and we're using the Twitter hashtag #HealthEpidemic.